if you can, just after the show, text my number and I'll send a personal message.
Oh, okay. Thank you
It's
so
my
much.
bad.
Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Thank you for the wishes, birthday wishes. I will tell Arian. And yeah, we're really grateful for
No
all the
problems.
wishes. It was a lovely celebration. I must say, I'm quite enjoying these COVID online parties and celebrations.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. Anyway,
And happy
we're
Valentine's
talking
Day to
about COVID.
you. Happy Valentine's Day to you and
Happy
everyone else.
Valentine's
And
Day to you as well. Yeah.
hope everyone has a
Happy
fantastic,
Valentine's Day to you as
fantastic celebration.
well. Yeah. Yes. When my wife comes back from work tonight, we'll have some celebration. Unfortunately, she's working, but it's fine. It's fine.
Oh, well,
Anyway,
later on.
talking about parties around COVID and all that. I don't know if this has come as good news or bad. I would say good because the Prime Minister has announced that he intends to remove England's remaining COVID restrictions at the end of this month. We were anticipating that would be these restrictions will be removed on the 24th of March, but it's going to be a month earlier, according to what the Prime Minister is saying. The rules are also being relaxed across Scotland and Wales and Northern Ireland's health minister says he wants to remove most remaining curbs this week.
Yeah. So right. That's good news for everyone.
Meanwhile, yeah, it is. For me, it's good news. But meanwhile, and the current restrictions are due to expire in England on the 24th of March. I said that earlier on, but he plans to remove them. What do you suspect the way? I mean, what's going to happen if these restrictions are removed? What do you anticipate is going to happen? I'm not talking in terms of infections or that, but how's the whole situation going to be like?
I think it's going to be that people are just going back to their normal lives. Obviously, with some adjustments and still some restrictions or adherence to guidance, which people will have to make decisions for themselves. But I think what it means with Boris Johnson saying that the restrictions will be lifted is that our lives will probably get back to almost normal to before COVID-19, December 2019. So I think we're going to probably be able to have more freedom. It's going to mean more freedom, I think, Opoku. And even now, I must say, like I was in London the weekend on Saturday with Sitara. We were on the train journey from Milton Keynes. We went into central London, Croydon, and then back. Yeah. And most people didn't have any masks on. So it was like as if COVID never happened. There were a few handful of people that had masks. We had our masks on. But it's like people have just gone back to their lives and pre-COVID. And I think because the vaccines have been rolled out, people are feeling a lot safer because we've had
more confident, yeah.
Yeah, people are feeling really confident. And also because we know that the Omicron wave was not as serious. Most people described it as like a cold and flu, getting through that. Obviously, some other people might have had more severe form of the Omicron or SARS-CoV-2 or other strains. But I think people are feeling more confident, more relaxed. And I think this going back to the restrictions being lifted by Boris Johnson in March, I think this will be again something that people will be looking forward to. It's just a continuation of going back to pre-COVID times.
Actually, Dr. Seshni, it was supposed to have ended in March, on the 24th of March, but the Prime Minister is saying that it could end at the end of this month.
Oh, end of this March, yeah.
End of this month, yeah. And one of the things that will be removed, I mean, if all the restrictions are removed, that would include the fact that you don't have to self-isolate. You don't have to self-isolate if you have COVID symptoms or test positive. That's not going to work out. Well, are you just going to just wear a mask and go to work or go wherever even though you're positive?
I think possibly that's what it's going to mean. It's going to mean that most hospitals, most institutions and businesses will follow the guidance from the government. So it's going to mean exactly what you've said. So even if people do test positive and if there's no self-isolation period, then it means that you can still go into work, but obviously there might be added conditions or precautions that you might need
probably to. If you have any symptoms, then you can take a day or two off work or something. But if you don't, then you just crack on with life.
Yeah.
That's cool. So it's just going to be like the common flu. It's going to be like you just got a cold and you still go to work with your cold. You just make sure that you don't go too close to people to infect them and stuff like that.
I think that's exactly what it's going to be, and I think it's a huge step. It's as I said earlier on, it's about freedom, and I think people are going to feel a lot freer and have that freedom to be able to do things which we haven't been able to do in the past 2 years. So it'll be interesting to see how it all pans out, but it's looking more optimistic, and definitely the Omicron wave has not been as serious as the Delta wave or the SARS-CoV-2 wave of COVID-19 infections. So we're more confident now. We have more education, more understanding about COVID-19. Even young children, they've been vaccinated and they're trying to promote vaccinations with young children as well. So I think it feels like everything seems to be under control, but we do need to talk about at some point about the Lassa Fever when we get a chance before we finish today.
You'll have to educate me on that one, and of course all of us. So we'll talk about that. Just give me a couple of minutes, and then we'll go to that fever, because that's quite important, isn't it?
Yeah. Can I say so with children? I was just reading the news, and I think what they're saying is that children are being enticed to and supported when they go to vaccination centers. So you've heard of dog therapy or pet dog therapy. So what they're trying to do now is have sheep at the vaccination centers to try and calm and soothe children. And I think the feedback has been quite positive. So a lot of children that have gone to vaccination centers, the age group like my kids, 12 to 14, 12 to 15, they're feeling a lot confident, about the vaccinations and being supported.
That's a real good strategy, isn't it?
Yeah.
To get the kids to get vaccinated. Right. So that was what we talked about. All this we talked about is for England. In Wales, rules on face masks are being relaxed, and COVID passes will no longer be needed as the Welsh government lifts more curbs to people's daily lives. So it's happening in Wales as well, but it's not as sharp as it is in England. But I suspect it's going to be the same in a couple of weeks' time anyway. Wales is currently at alert level 0, the lowest level of COVID rules. That is cool, isn't it? Yes. That's really good.
Yes. Yeah, that's fantastic news. So I think they've done quite well, Wales. So I think that's great news for the Wales community. And yeah, I'm sure lots of other places are going to follow on with similar guidance.
Meanwhile, in Scotland, plans to lift COVID restrictions in England should not, this is somebody saying this, it should not force the hand of the Scottish government to change its own virus strategy. Yeah. Humza Yousaf says. The Prime Minister Boris Johnson has said, he's talked about the self-isolation that could end south of the border this month. But Scotland's Health Secretary warned that the public health advice recommended a more cautious approach. It comes after one expert said removing the 5-day quarantine rules now would be a step too far. What do you think?
Well, I think some people are obviously playing a bit cautious then, Opoku, from what I'm hearing. Yeah. And rightly so, because, we're going to be having a lot of kids on half term this week and next week. There's obviously people going and traveling. So I think the rules probably they want to keep it still around, because obviously people are still concerned. Maybe not everyone is feeling as confident as some people.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
What do you
feel?
Right.
Okay, now let's talk about. Oh no, I agree with you. I do agree with you, and I think it's just every country trying to do the best for its people.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Now let's talk about what we're going to talk about, the fever thing.
Yeah, Lassa Fever. So Lassa Fever has we've had one.
Lassa Fever.
Yeah. So Lassa Fever. So it's come about because what the government is saying, there will be a pause on young children getting the vaccine, the COVID vaccine, and there's a delay now because of Lassa Fever. So we've had one.
First of all, what is Lassa Fever? First of all, what is Lassa Fever?
Okay, so very good question. Lassa fever is a fever caused or viral infection caused by the Lassa virus. So it's endemic. It's currently endemic in West African countries. So it's quite well known in West African countries. And I
never heard of it.
Yeah,
and I'm from West Africa.
I know, but
I never heard of it.
They say that it's endemic in West Africa. I know.
Really? Never heard of it.
I know. Well, I've heard of it because we've studied it in medical school and in my training.
Medical school, yeah.
So we've learned about.
Maybe it's called something else in West Africa, but I've never heard the word Lassa Fever. Never ever.
Well, it is obviously it's not as common in the UK. Prior to the 3 cases we had in the UK in the last few days, we've only had it 10 years ago. So over a decade ago, the UK had seen cases, about 8 cases of Lassa fever. So we've had 1 death in the UK in Luton and Bedfordshire Trust. So 1 person died in Luton and Dunstable Hospital from Lassa fever.
Sorry, Dr. Seshne, I don't mean to be rude in cutting you, but how does it present us, this Lassa fever thing?
I was going to say all of that. So yeah, I was just
all right. Sorry about that. I just wanted to get that before I get the death and the death bit. So that we have a general idea of how it presents, what it does, and symptoms, this and that, and then we'll talk about how many it's killed and how many it hasn't.
Yeah. So Lassa fever, as I said, is caused by the Lassa virus. It's a viral hemorrhagic illness, which it causes, and the way in which it spreads, Apoko. So it spreads from infected household products and feces of rats. So that's the main source of the infection would be that. So rodents and rats, that's where the source would come. And the way in which it presents, the way in which it can, so it's not as contagious, just to say, as the COVID-19, so SARS-CoV-2 in the way it spreads. So it won't spread as rapidly as COVID-19. So what it would need is it would spread through bodily fluids, urine and saliva and blood products. So this is the way in which it spread. So it wouldn't be through droplet spread like the way in which an airborne, the way COVID-19 has spread.
Right.
Yeah. So what are the symptoms and signs of the Lassa fever? So very similar actually to COVID-19, but it can get quite serious and it can be fatal. So people can die. So it causes a fever. It can cause a cough. It can cause sore throat, weakness, malaise, and in more serious cases, it leads to vomiting. So some gastrointestinal symptoms. People can end up having shock. They can have fluid in their lungs, which we call pleural effusion. So that's what it can cause. And so the more severe cases, as I said, it can end up in shock and people can die. So it's important to identify the illness quite early on and treat it. It is treatable.
Okay.
Yeah. So the treatment that is available obviously is first testing for the virus, monitoring of symptoms, giving the person fluid and electrolyte. The person will need to be in hospital for, obviously, if they've been tested, and to contain the spread of it. And anyone that comes into contact with that person will need to isolate, according to the information I've read. So there is treatment in the form of, we can give oxygen, as we've done with COVID-19. Ribavirin is an antiviral treatment. So it's a fancy name for a viral medication, Ribavirin. So that's the name of the medication that would be used, and it has a very good response. So as I said, once identified and once treated, the person has a good chance of recovery.
Okay. Now, the other thing I want to ask you is if you studied it in medical school, then obviously it's been around for a while.
Yes.
And then you said something about 10 years ago or something.
Yes.
how I'm still trying to wrap my head around the fact that I had never heard of this.
Yes.
I mean, I was born in West Africa. I'm a West African. I lived there.
Yes.
And I've never once heard about. I've heard about malaria, cholera, and all the other ones. Never heard of this one. And I've never seen in the news where I come from that anybody had died or anybody had been infected from anything called Lassa.
And that's I think it's very, to be honest, it's very rare. It's a very rare.
So how come it's endemic then? How come it's been?
I know that is quite surprising.
If it's not rare,
I know
if it's not rare, how come we're saying it's endemic? Because, or is it endemic in a certain part of West Africa?
I think probably in a certain part of West Africa. I can check more details on it, but I don't know if it's Cameroon or some other countries. It might be more those African countries. Maybe, I don't think specifically, obviously Ghana, but it's very. To be honest, when we studied it, it was very rare. We hadn't heard of many cases, but obviously, because there's cases of certain viruses or illnesses, we would still learn about it, even if it wasn't like a pandemic. So I think coming back to the UK, and I think that's surprising, and it's obviously important to note that what you've said is that even you come from West Africa. They're saying it comes from West African countries, maybe not Ghana, but other West African countries, and it wasn't quite, it wasn't really like known. So it just shows you how rare it is, Apoko. So in terms of the UK, we've had 8 cases prior to this, 3 cases that we have in the last few days. We've had 8 cases in 2000. I think in 1980 there was 8 cases. So Lassa Fever is something that's known, obviously quite rare, and it's something now that's going to be obviously everyone's going to be alert about, because it can cause a fatal. It can be fatal where people can die.
Can be fatal. Okay. Now, if you go over how it is transmitted once again, I'll be very grateful.
Yes. So it says that it's usually transmitted from household products that are contaminated. So basically, that are contaminated with the virus, and feces of rodents. So any rats.
Rodents.
So it's specifically to do with rats.
Okay.
And it can be transmitted then. If someone has Lassa fever, then it will be transmitted through saliva. So if someone exchanges saliva, blood through blood products, through bodily fluids, and then I think those are the main thing, and urine. So if you are in contact with someone that's infected, this is how you will get it. So I think the cases, coming back to the UK, I don't know if you understand so far how I've explained.
I do understand. Yeah, I do understand.
Yeah. So coming to the cases that we've had in the UK, so we've got 3 cases. 1 person has died. And the people that have come in contact with the cases, like people working in the hospital, they're having to isolate and having to wear PPE to protect themselves. So I think because it's not much known, obviously they've identified it. It's possible that it's Lassa fever, but I think they're still taking precautions.
Okay.
So how it was related now to COVID-19, and why I wanted to talk about it was
exactly. I was gonna. That would have been my next question. How is it related to COVID-19?
Yeah, it's because they've said now they want to vaccinate younger children, so under 11s, under 12 and 11s. But they said there's been a delay now because of the outbreak of because of the cases of Lassa fever. So
I see.
Yeah. So watch the space. We can discuss it again, and I'm sure there's going to be lots of questions. But I think for me, it's quite reassuring. It's not as contagious as SARS-CoV-2, as the COVID-19 and the other strains that we've had, the Delta, the Omicron, and others. So I think I feel more reassured, and I think people should be reassured. It's not as contagious. We will have to just keep ourselves updated on what's going on. And I think, it's reassuring. Obviously, there's only 3 cases in the UK. So obviously, sadly, 1 person has passed away.
Now that it's come to light, this Lasso Fever thing, I'm going to go deep now. I'm going to start researching on it.
Yes, and we
we
can talk
talk
about the West African countries exactly where they have occurred.
Yeah, I'm gonna check on that. Yeah.
Yeah, it is going to impact on travel, I do believe, because I think countries are going to be cautious. If obviously the UK has cases of Lassa Fever, I think other countries are going to probably have to do their investigations and research into it and find out whether um, anything needs to be done in terms of people from the UK traveling to other countries.
Okay, fantastic. Now, with COVID, let's come back to COVID and come to the numbers. And there's some sort of reassurance that the numbers are dropping.
Yes.
Right. So if
should we do the numbers then? Yeah, it is quite reassuring.
Yes, please.
Yes, I cannot believe it that we've come to a point where it's looking really optimistic, I would say.
Absolutely.
And I think if Lassa Fever, if it ends up being something that we need to be concerned about, I think we've learned so much from COVID-19 that it will just be like we'll be able to manage it. But I don't think it's
a walk in the park.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the COVID-19 global figures from the Worldometer as of today, February 14th, 2022, total number of cases globally is 412,627,461. Total number of deaths is 5,836,222. And every life matters. Total recovered is 333,252,551. In terms of the top five, we have USA number one with 79,325,576 positive cases. Total number of deaths is 943,411. India's number two with 42,665,534 positive cases with 509,043 deaths. Brazil number three with 27,483,031 positive cases. And 31 positive cases with 638,449 deaths. France is 21,708,827 cases. They're number four in the world with 134,804 deaths. And UK number five with 18,306,859 positive cases with 159,570 deaths. So that's the top five figures. We'll just go to South Africa, 3,641,811 positive cases and 96,993 deaths. And Ghana, quite low down. It takes a while to scroll to Ghana. So it's and it's moved. It's moved to 110.
It has, yeah.
It has. It's 157,751 positive cases with 1,419 deaths. So they've done really well. Yeah. And we'll just go into the UK 24-hour figures, as you were saying, that it's looking quite positive that the figures are going down. So we have the total 24-hour figures that we've had is 41,270 new cases with 52 new deaths. And the day prior to that is 45,853 new cases, 883 new cases with 167 new deaths, and 58,582 new cases with 193 new deaths. So I think it's ranging in the 40 to 50,000, which obviously has reduced significantly, and also the deaths have gone down. So things are looking a lot more positive. Definitely. And it was really a great show today. Thank you so much. And we just need to continue. Just, I think each person, again, will have to make the decisions for themselves. And to be honest, I think everyone's being responsible. Most people are being responsible. And through all age groups, there might be a handful in each group that obviously, feel that, they're not bothered and, they won't get it and they might feel invincible. But I think because we've been vaccinated, most people have, and obviously those that haven't, please do find out more about the vaccinations and get yourself vaccination if you feel that that's a decision you would like to make. And it's a disclaimer, we're just giving advice from the government about vaccinations and the boosters, but most people are being urged about vaccinations. In terms of the workforce, we haven't heard any changes, so we're still waiting to hear about whether it will be mandatory, but I think there's been a pause on that as well.
There has been a pause on that,
Yeah. And I think I'm not surprised, because I think they were going to lose a lot of NHS workers. It was going to put a lot of strain on the NHS. And also, I think it's being put in that position of it being made mandatory is obviously quite serious. So a lot of people were going to lose their jobs and their livelihood. So I think they've taken it into context.
Yeah,
and obviously,
and the agencies were going to cash. They were going to cash on it, because they were promising all the NHS staff that, well, if they won't let you work for them, we'll take you.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's the same NHS that's going to hire the the agency staff and pay them more. So
exactly.
We'll see how it goes.
And I think what people have done, Poku, is that they also started to realize, because a lot of people in the hospitals have started to make plans, because it was going to be made mandatory. They were already made plans that they were going to leave and have other employment. So we have seen the NHS and private institutions, hospitals lose valuable staff because of the mandatory vaccines. So I think because they started to see that, they obviously needed to take it quite seriously. Again, as I always say, it's pro-choice. I do believe in pro-choice, and there are anti-vaxxers out there. Obviously, it's everyone's choice, but I do believe that people do need to take the vaccine. It has saved our lives. It saved my life. It saved our families and friends and our patients. So I'm really definitely one for the vaccines.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Dr. Sessionamudli, and we'll see you soon. And we'll talk more on the Lassa Fever when next we get on the show.
Yes, thank you so much for such a wonderful day. Have a lovely Valentine's Day to you and Sika and to everyone else that's celebrating. And again, I just wanted it for Aryan, just to say happy birthday to Aryan. He's such a special boy, and I hope he had a fantastic birthday. And we'll continue celebrating today. We usually make a week of the celebrations, so we're going to celebrate his 14th birthday again today and just spoil him as much as possible.
Brilliant. Give your family our love. And
there's another friend, Zelna. She's a nurse. Happy birthday to her as well. She's a nurse, African nurse in the UK. Right. So happy birthday, Zelna.
And from all of us here at the Hospital Radio Bedford, we wish Aryan a happy birthday. God bless you, and see you soon. That was Dr. Session.
Thanks so much, everyone, for joining, and apologies for the technical difficulties. But have a fantastic day. Happy Valentine's Day. Stay safe. Let's spread the love and not the virus. And namaste. Goodbye.